Today I'm taking a look at this game from Decision Games. It's called Salem Church. It's a mini game that's part of the Musket and Sabre system. And this has the quick play rules, which I'll say at the outset I prefer to the standard rules. They're streamlined, and for the type of games that these are, I think the streamlined rules work best. And I use quick play rules on all of the games in this series that I have. Salem Church is a battle that's part of the Chancellorsville campaign, and occurs the 3rd and 4th of May of 1863. And it's noteworthy that this is a few days after Stonewall Jackson was accidentally shot by his own men. And then the battle culminates on the 4th of May, which is a few days before Stonewall Jackson passed away from his injuries. This series uses a hexagon grid. The units are brigades, and they are organized into division formations with leaders and artillery. And the scale of the hex map, I think, is 352 yards per hex, and the turns are an hour and a half long each. So it's an interesting scale. The game can move along fairly quickly. This game happens to have 14 turns, starting around noon on the 3rd, and then there's one night turn, I believe it's turn 6, where you can maneuver around, but you can't get into contact, you can't combat. And then starting around 7:30 in the morning on the 4th, you have turn 7 through, I think it's 14. Anyway, the point of the game is the Union's on the move. They're trying to get their supply train across and off a map edge along a road, and to defend that area, certain roads and fords from the Confederates to protect their supply line. The Confederates are trying to capture that supply train if possible, and if not, capture the fords that would compromise the Union's supply situation. If a draw comes out of these events, then the victory is determined by casualty, the ratio of casualty losses from one side to the other. So I know historically it's believed that the Confederates won this battle. We'll see how it goes in my course of the game. In the picture here, we can see what happens in the opening turn of the game. This is noon of May 3rd, 1863. And the Union player is first, and the only Confederate unit on the board is Wilcox's brigade. And he is trying to delay the Union as long as possible. And so in this picture, as the Union advances, Brooks' division advances toward the house that's on this road, Wilcox moves to the back of the hill where he's out of line of sight of the artillery and is adequately providing delaying action. Turn 2, which is 1:30 in the afternoon, this picture shows that the rest of McLaw's division has shown up and is now facing off against Brooks' division. And so Wilcox moves back past through the toll gate and then joins McLaw's division, who have taken up a position at Salem Church and the schoolhouse. Now, both of these are somewhat fortified because of the buildings, and gives a +2 modifier to the units that occupy them in forthcoming combat. Now on turn 3, which is 3:00 p.m., you can see in this picture some important action that happens. Mahone's brigade is moving up the river road. You can see at the very bottom of the screen, it talks about Banks Ford. That's one of the important things for the Confederates to control, well, and the Union to control. But he is defending in the face of the entire Union 3rd Division under Newton. So we'll see how that goes for him. Then moving on to turn 4, it's 4:30. This shows some of the action happening near Salem Church. You can see that Brooks' 1st Division is attacking, and some damage has occurred to Semmes' brigade as well as the Union 1st Brigade. Still somewhat of a stalemate here. On this same turn, Newton's 3rd Division is attacking Mahone's brigade and is successful, and you can see in the picture, pushes him back, in demoralization, back across, up against the banks of the stream there, exposing Banks Ford as no man's land, I guess you could call it. This is turn 5, the 6 p.m. turn. This just is an overview which shows the 2 areas of the fighting. You can see Brooks at the top right-hand side of the page is kind of in a stalemate there with McLaw's division. And then to the bottom part of the map, you see the fighting going along the river road, and that the Union has, at this point, captured Banks Ford. Turn 6 is a night turn, so all that's happening here is some minor maneuvering that stays out of contact with the enemy. So now we go to turn 7. This is a new day, May 4th, 1863. It's 7:30 in the morning. And this is the first turn of a special rule in this game where the Union has to roll each turn for initiative. And if he rolls low initiative, he's going to have some negative effects. For one, his units won't be able to enter a zone of control unless it's accompanied by a leader, but that leader has to pass an initiative check. Then secondly, these units cannot attack unless they pass a morale check. So this greatly inhibits the Union from being able to have much in the way of successful combat. The Union player doesn't get the initiative, so he really can't do too much except be defensive here. At the same time, though, we see McLaw's is now becoming more aggressive near Salem Church, and you can see in the picture he's trying a turning movement against Brooks' 1st Division. You can see Semmes and Wilcox are trying to come around on the left flank there. This is turn 8 now. It's 9 a.m. in the morning, and the Union again fails its initiative check, so it's really hamstrung on being able to go on the offensive. So in this picture here, we see General Early has come onto the scene along the main road near the guest house, and he is engaging in Howe's 2nd Division in battle there. It's turn 9, which I believe is 10:30 a.m. And again, the Union suffers a failed initiative check. So the Confederates really have the upper hand here. In this overview, you can see the fighting around Salem Church in the lower right-hand corner of the picture. And then you see where Banks Ford is being contested by Newton's 3rd Division and Anderson. And then at the very top, you can see Early coming in the rear. And so really the Union is getting pushed from both sides, and it's trying to squeeze that supply wagon out off the map through the little corridor that remains. Now on to turn 10. This is 12 noon on the 4th, and the Union has low initiative again. So the ball is really in the Confederates' court. In this picture, you can see the fighting around Banks Ford, which is a key location. You can see it marked with the U.S. symbol there. And Anderson's division is fighting Newton's division over this area, and this time the Confederates are successful, and they do push Newton's forces back. In this next picture, we can see where General Early is continuing to attack from the top of the map toward that corridor, and General Howe with the 2nd Division is attempting to stop this. He's somewhat successful here. You can see that there's a little bit of a standoff going on here. On turn 11, it's 1:30 p.m. The Union has low initiative again, which will really affect its ability to engage in combat. But in this picture, we can see the fighting that was occurring around Banks Ford, and Newton is forced to attack, but he doesn't have his full army, his full division to bear, and he is repulsed and forced to fall back. So you can see Banks Ford is starting to fall away from the Union control. Now we go on to turn 12, which is a 3 p.m. turn. I've put here an overview of what it looked like at the end of this turn. You can see Early, even though he had some initial success pushing through from the top part of the map, he is in danger of Brooks coming around on his rear. So Howe and Brooks are are set up to do a little bit of a pincer on Early's forces. Everywhere else, there's somewhat of a stalemate. You can see Newton has pushed back against Banks Ford, but Anderson's division still controls it. And you can see the supply train there on the left-hand side of the map, trying to make its way safely. It's mostly trying to not be captured in this at this point. Now we go on to turn 13. It's 4:30 p.m. And here you can see in the overview at the end of this turn, you can see Early's forces have come down and have now kind of met up with a McLaw's division. And you can see that the part of the 1st Division of the Union is isolated off to the right-hand side of the map. And Banks Ford is still contested by Anderson and Newton. We'll see how that ends up going at the end. Then we go to turn 14 at 6 p.m. The Union has low initiative, and the Union tries to redeploy the troops somewhat, but there's really no point at this stage. I mean, it's late. The day's going to come to an end, and the Union has not got the supply off the map. And the Confederates have not captured all of the key positions that they need to control to win. So it goes to measuring the casualties on each side, and it's not a significant difference. So this game actually ends in a draw. So despite having the bad initiative rolls, the Union did okay at keeping everything together and being able to pull out a draw on this, whereas I believe historically it was a Confederate victory. Anyway, this is a little bit of a look at this game. Very affordable. This can be picked up on the secondhand market quite cheap, I think. Inexpensively, I should say. And, it's a fun little game on this topic. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at Salem Church from the Decision Games minigame series.